time for your residency apartment hunt. Hello everyone and welcome back to Happy Farm Life. My name is Sierra Richard. I'm a PGY1 resident who's helping you survive your pharmacy residency. So congratulations on matching, but one of the first things you've got to do is find a place to live. Trust me, I understand that Amazon has some really nice boxes nowadays, and your desk may look very tempting as a place to sleep when you start looking at the prices and you realize how much time you're going to spend at the hospital. But trust me, your desk is not that comfortable. I've slept in mine. So here are some tips that I have for you as you're looking for your apartment. First off is your budget. I would recommend about a third of your salary. You definitely don't want to be going over that because you want to be able to put money into savings. You're going to have to pay for health insurance. You're going to have to pay for your renter's insurance, your internet, your utilities. All of those things add up. So you really want to make sure you're keeping it under that rate. Additionally, a lot of places won't actually allow you to rent from them if you go over that amount. Some things that you may require, you may need to have renter's insurance up front that you're ready to do that. You also are going to need some sort of statement of proof of what your salary is going to be. So if you've had somebody reach out from HR, they're probably the person to write you that letter, so go ahead and ask them about that. When figuring out exactly where you want to live, closer to the hospital is what a lot of people look at, but if it's in a medical district, it's probably going to be more expensive, or if it's downtown. So for me, I decided to look someplace that's a little further out. Gonna be honest here, I live in the DFW metro area, which means there's a lot of traffic. So unfortunately, my commute is much longer if I decide to sleep in. So typically I get up in the morning, try to beat traffic, which is not an issue right now with coronavirus, but before that it was. However, most days I was getting up earlier and leaving later than traffic. So something to consider. I think something that's important for you to do is have your must list and have your want list. For me, it was a must for the place to be pet friendly, but a pool was a want that wasn't required for me. It's important to be realistic about the amount of time that you're going to spend in your apartment. For me, I work every other weekend, so I'm not here that much. But being that I have so little time off, I want a place that I really enjoy to be at whenever I am off and is super comfortable. So make sure you're meeting both of those requirements. When looking at apartments, don't just look at the upfront cost of the apartment on the website. One of my biggest hacks is to call places that you're interested in, maybe if they're just a little bit above your price range, because sometimes they have deals going on. My apartment wasn't actually a deal that was much less because originally I looked on their website and thought it was going to be way more than I could afford, but it ended up not being that at all and right within my price point. Additionally, tell them you work for a hospital. I cannot tell you how many places that I looked at that whenever I told them where I worked, that they're like, oh, we have a discount for healthcare workers. Some of them were money off of your rent. Some of them were no deposit, which is what my place was. I didn't have to pay a deposit and I got a percentage off of my upfront first month. So regardless, it's super important that you tell them. And don't just go with what's on the website because almost always that number is wrong. Or they can just give you a better deal. One of the two. Another big tip I have is to ask the current residents. They've lived it. They've looked at places. They have figured out where to live. And a lot of them have had pets, maybe not this year, but in the past. So ask those questions from your program. I know that you're just getting to know them, but they're your biggest resource when it comes to finding a place to live and just navigating all the things that you need to do before you start residency. If the residents aren't much help, which they probably will be, you can always ask your residency program director. They may know somebody. Some hospitals actually have services within their healthcare system that give you some information about places to live and can help you with your moving process. Gonna be honest, I'm not sure how coronavirus affects that right now, but it's still worth an ask. Maybe not now, but maybe in a month from now. It's also good to ask past residents what their budget looked like. Sometimes residents do try to live together to cheapen the cost. I do caution you that you are going to spend a lot of time with your co-residents. So if you're at a bigger program, this may work where you're not face-to-face a lot, but at a smaller program, you're probably going to see your co-residents all the time, so it may not be the best option. Additionally, right now, I know that a lot of tours are not available for different homes because of the coronavirus, so ask for a virtual tour. Some of them have videos. Often places have at least one person on site that they can take you and maybe do a video chat with you. I know that places around here in Dallas-Fort Worth area are offering that. Do your best in the circumstances and try to find a way to see the place because again, you're going to spend the little amount of free time that you have here. Some other things to ask and think about whenever you are looking for these apartments is what kind of internet that they use and how much it costs, what their renter insurance is and how much that costs. If you're in places like Texas, where they allow energy commerce and they have all of these different electrical companies, what they use and about what that cost as well. Because if in one district the internet is crazy expensive and another is cheaper, you may have an even out of the cost there. Other things to think about is this apartment off of a toll road? Am I going to be required to take a toll road from the place? Coming from Missouri where we didn't have toll roads, it wasn't a thought that I had, but I now live off a toll road that thankfully I can avoid. But some of the places I looked at, that wasn't an option. And last but not least is, as you're asking these questions, have a spreadsheet, the pros, cons list. Usually I went with my gut feeling. This place that I'm at now, I loved immediately and was like, yes, I want to live here. It's also good to have that pros and cons list so you don't forget about the places that you looked at earlier. Make sure you're making the phone calls with them. And if you're having communication issues with them to begin with, I know right now is a very difficult time, but if they're not taking the time to make sure that people are able to contact them now in this situation, you may have a red flag there and want to find some place that's really going to be there for you when you need them to answer your questions. On that pros cons list, you also want to think about how much you're planning to spend on all those things. So those questions I gave you, make sure you're writing those down and see how much of your salary that's going to be budgeted. I know in certain areas this can be really difficult. I looked at places on the West Coast that were way more than I am paying here. Like double, and my salary was not going to be double what I'm getting at my residency now. So try your best in those cases to find places that maybe are a little further out and possibly have public transportation options for you. Unfortunately, in this current situation, you're gonna probably have to rely a little bit more heavily on reviews online, but I highly recommend going through those and being realistic. Don't just look at the number of stars, but really look at the comments, because sometimes there are things like people got mad or disgruntled. There's always gonna be conflict, but see if you're seeing consistent things like you can never get a hold of them, or maybe you're consistently seeing that there's noise issues, because as a resident, you definitely don't want to deal with that. You want to get the little amount of sleep that you can. So just use those reviews and make sure you're reading as many of them as possible, calling the place, and having your set of questions ready for all of them. All right, that's all I have. Thank you all for watching. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button below so you don't miss another video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!
Yeah.